Hello and welcome to another episode of So Fly. It's, what is it, September 19th. So we just recorded a podcast last weekend. We're back in the studio, actually in a new space. We're going to call home, leave our gear set up at the Hive. My name is Mitch. You got Yelma on the show.
Hey.
Got Aldo.
Hello.
And we've got a special guest on the show today that we've been trying to coordinate to have on the show for a little while now. We've got Dan Bannister on the show. How's it going, Dan?
Good. How you guys doing?
Very good. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Dan, Yelma, how do we know Dan?
How do you know Dan?
Oh, man. I've been in touch with Dan, trying to get him to shoot photos for us for the later part of, I don't know, 10 years I've been in this industry. The whole time, basically. Yeah. Dan and I have been trying to get in touch, trying to shoot some shots for Milk and Heineken one time.
God, even when you were at One Method, we talked about a project for, what the heck was it? It was a cool project too.
Yeah.
And it was shooting out west somewhere, I think.
Right. One advertising was for Fountain Tire.
Yeah.
So I've known him for a while, and just recently when I started fly fishing, I wasn't aware that Dan fly fished, and we were just chatting about it, and he's like, "What, you fly fish in Southern Ontario?" And then I showed him how beautiful it is, and we've been in touch ever since.
Dan, you're part of the ad game.
I am, for better or worse.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, it's a remarkable contrast from my previous existence.
What'd you do before?
I was in the construction business.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I was a project manager on the East Coast in industrial construction for a bunch of years. Got transferred out west, became vice president of a big company that did heavy industrial construction out west. Lived there for about 12 years, and then we sold the company, and I sort of kind of quasi-retired and started doing photography. And I got hired right away by the New York Times and Condé Nast, and traveled all over the place doing all these pictures for magazines, travel magazines mostly, which evolved into a commercial career. And that's how Yelma and I met. And then so here we are.
It's always interesting meeting people in advertising that fly fish.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's like seeing an alien.
The business lends itself well to fly fishing, I think, as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were talking about this earlier. I mean, the first time that Yelma told me that he was into fly fishing was just sort of an offhanded comment. Like, we were talking about work-related stuff, and it's like, I'm going to be busy fly fishing this weekend or something. Like, whoa, stop. What? You what? Because I had never met anybody in Toronto that fly fished, and I was saying I sort of put fly fishing on the back burner when I moved here because I felt like it was maybe not going to be as great as it was coming from the Rocky Mountains.
Oh, you moved here from Calgary?
Calgary. Yeah, Calgary.
That's a big move.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, we're both, my wife and I, are originally from the East Coast, and with photography and advertising, there's just a lot more opportunity here. And I was coming here a lot more, working here a lot more, and it just seemed like a natural thing. And my wife was excited about moving here, so we just kind of jumped on it and did it. And she gave up skiing, and I gave up fly fishing, kind of, or I thought I did, and. So Yelma says, I'm going fly fishing this weekend. I'm like, wait a minute, you're doing what? Where? You need to stop. You need to give me directions and draw some maps for me and show me some places to wet a line. And he said, oh, you fly fish? And I'm like, yeah. So the conversation kind of went from there.
Yeah, it's funny, like the Ontario fly fishing community. Like, I mean, we're always talking about this, how it's way bigger than we think, and there's so many people that aren't connected and stuff like that,
Yeah.
It's funny that you can be here and just be like, I don't know, like.
Well, and my old agent, their offices were at Queen and Berkeley. Mm. So every time, I'd drive right by Drift Outfitters.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, a fly shop and a legit fly shop. Not, they're not faking it. I mean, they're a great shop. Wow, a fly shop in downtown Toronto on Queen Street East. I mean, This is amazing. So I would go in there and wander around and talk to those guys, and they would, show me some spots on the map and stuff as well, which was really great.
Do you remember the first place you went fly fishing in Ontario?
I do. Yeah, it would have been.
Is it with me?
I'm trying to remember. I think it was. Yeah, I think we must have gone.
Went to the Upper Credit.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. Where else did I go? Because I went another place alone. I don't know if it was before I went with you or not, but it was, you park above the park, just north of the park, Forks of the Credit Park.
Right.
And the road goes down into
that was
kind of a ravine. Was it? Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
So there you have it. Yeah, that was my first time, and I didn't catch any fish.
Yeah.
And I'm still suspicious that.
Oh, maybe that wasn't with me. Because when you were with me, we caught a bunch of little brookies.
Right. That was a different spot. Yeah,
okay,
that was a different spot. Because I did catch fish that time, small brookies, but lots of them.
Yeah.
Lots of them. And I'm still suspicious that there's not a lot of fish in Ontario. Although I keep seeing your Instagram and go,
Yeah, well, you're fishing with me. You got to fish with all those, Mitch.
You're being humble.
Yeah.
You're being humble.
Yeah.
It's just Ontario is one of those places it takes like just so much time to learn. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the more you do it, the more it reveals itself, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we see that from all the old guys, like all the people that have been fishing here for 40 years.
Yeah.
So I went from Halifax to Calgary. And so when I was in Nova Scotia, I was doing fishing. I was, weekend, Saturday morning, whatever, salmon or trout or whatever I'm fishing. And I had it all figured out. I was catching fish reasonably regularly. Mm-hmm. And then moved to the Rocky Mountains where I thought, it's 1 million fish per mile or whatever the number is. Yeah. There's the density of fish in all of the rivers is exponentially higher than it is in Nova Scotia. So I thought, I'm going to crush this. Mm-hmm. No. It took me a year of a lot of fishing for a year to figure out how to fish out there.
Yeah.
Before you it's like anything else in life. You do it for 10,000 hours and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got this. I figured it out.
Yeah.
And I still haven't put in 10,000 hours in Ontario, so I still haven't, I catch fish occasionally, but it's still a bit of a hit or miss thing. Mm-hmm. So
with fly fishing for you, is it about catching fish or what draws you to it?
No, it's never been about that. And we talked about this earlier too. For me, it's a really unique thing to even be here talking about fishing because, like I was saying to you guys before, I've never socialized with people just because they're fly fishermen. I've never, because it's almost like socializing with people just because you brush your teeth too.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Let's all get together with people who brush their teeth because it's the same.
That's actually our other podcast coming out. So I was hoping you wouldn't reveal it, but
could I be on that?
Yeah, it's coming out in October.
I want to talk about a new floss that I discovered. So it's a unique experience for me because again, I grew up fishing. Fishing is always something I did, and so for a bunch of guys to say, hey, let's get together and talk fishing, do fishing. It's a really unique and cool thing for me to discover. And I was talking about Facebook pages that I'm blown away by the amount of activity on fly fishing that exists on Facebook. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh, man.
So to answer your question, no, fishing for me is about, I don't know. It's about being away from, it's a bit corny and cliche to say that it's about being away from people or being, I don't know. It's DNA. It's something that's baked into me that I just love to do, is just wade up. And I'm not a boat fishing guy either. Or an ocean fishing guy, except for bone fishing. I don't like floating a lot. I've floated a lot of rivers in Wyoming and Montana and places like that, and it's okay, but I like to walk and wade. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I feel closer to what I'm doing. I feel like I can read a river better. I feel like I'm less, I don't know, floating down a river and casting feels like commercial fishing to me. It feels like a job.
Mm-hmm. It's like work.
Yeah, kind of. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? It feels like you have a goal, must catch 50 fish today.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas walking and wading kind of feels like might have a nap, might walk another mile, might just go home. I don't know. We'll see. Right. Take it as it comes.
Yeah. Oh, I love walking and wading as well.
Yeah.
So you're the solitary fly fisherman.
Yeah, I kind of am. I don't like fishing with a huge group of guys, people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like crowded rivers, mm-hmm. which is a problem on the Connecticut, which we can talk about, or can be a problem. I time my trips around crowds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's like weird politics that go into busy New England river fishing, I've discovered.
Oh man, everywhere.
There's rules
that
are unwritten that you just need to figure out. You know, it's like lane. You guys ever go lane swimming? Like, I tried that once and discovered there are some weird rules. That if you don't follow, people will call you out on it immediately.
So fishing can be like that too, eh?
Yeah, and so the New England thing, and again, the New England vibe for me is familiar because I grew up on the east coast of Canada, and we're just right next door to New England, and now kind of New England is my fishing home. Yeah. And so it's familiar to me, but Nova Scotia is much less densely populated than New Hampshire, and there's less people in proximity, so you don't get that same thing.
So how did you get into fishing? If we go way back, what was your foray into the fishing world? When was that? How did it go down?
I don't remember a trip or an incident or an event. I don't remember, my dad fished, but he wasn't an avid fly fisherman, he was kind of more of a weekend with the boys at the camp, beers and spin casting kind of guy. Right. Yeah. My grandfather was a fly fisherman. I have my grandfather's handmade bamboo salmon rod.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's. I should have brought. I when I was digging that other rod out for you, I should have brought it because I moved it out of the way to grab that rod. Yeah. And I fished with that rod out west a few times. I broke it. Well, so bamboo dries out and it cracks. And I spent a bundle of money having it completely restored to brand new.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous now. And I fished with it since it was, I asked the guy, there's a guy in Rocky Mountain, Alberta, who restores bamboo rods. And it's like a brand new rod.
It's a small community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Google him. I mean, I'm sure, you'd find him in 2 minutes, right? But so to answer your question, I don't remember how did I become a fisher person. I don't remember.
But it's sort of baked into your DNA, just growing up as a kid out east.
Yeah.
Something you did.
Yeah. And then, like high school, we would do, people that I'm still friends with, we would go on, kind of canoe weekends on remote rivers and the Tobic River and places like this in northern New Brunswick that are, chock full of brook trout. And we would, do things that high school kids do along with fly fishing on the side.
Yeah.
Good life.
Yeah.
Good childhood.
Yeah, good childhood for sure. And so it stayed with me forever. And then, we moved to Halifax and I worked with a bunch of guys who were into fly fishing as well. And, so I stayed with it. And then, of course, moving out west was a whole new, kind of thing, right? Do you guys remember the movie A River Runs Through It?
No, not at all.
Never heard of that as a kid.
Okay, I'm sorry. I should have known the answer. Never ask a question you don't know the answer.
I think it comes up like every podcast.
Oh, does? I'm sure, right? Yeah, I'm sure it does. I fished all of those locations.
Oh, nice.
Where that movie was filmed.
No way.
And let me tell you, they're spectacular places to fish. They really are, yeah. It's a beautifully made film. Yeah, totally, and it's mostly backlit with that, it's 18 Ks fired down the river. It's gorgeous. Yeah. So
it got a lot of people into fly fishing. That's for sure.
I'm sure it did. Yeah. I'm sure it did. I would have loved to have owned a fly shop. I would have loved to have bought a fly shop a month before that movie came out.
Yeah.
100%.
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Yeah.
But you got to fish all those spots.
I did. So, I would literally jump in the, it was a truck at that time, as everybody else in Alberta does. I would literally jump in the truck and drive 8 hours to Yellowstone from my house in Calgary for a weekend.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So rad.
Yeah.
How could you not? I've been there twice. I'd do that.
Oh, yeah. Last Chance, Idaho, 8 hours, one stop at the McDonald's drive-through on I-95, and, boom. You're there. And
I met a bunch of people from Calgary when I was in Wyoming, and they're like, yeah, we come down for the weekend. I'm like, yeah. This makes sense.
Let's move to Calgary.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah. I mean, and you don't have to. I mean, honestly, within 2 hours, 3 hours of Calgary there's fantastic fishing.
Oh, the crow's nest.
The crow's nest. Yeah. Everybody yakks about, sounds whatever, but the Bow River, which runs right through the city. And I never liked fishing the Bow River. It's too big.
Yeah.
It's too hard to fish. It's I had to fish it with a boat. I never caught a lot of fish on the bow, even though it's a blue ribbon trout stream river. But
I'd rather safe space, Dan. Safe space.
Yeah, somebody's going to listen to this, and I'm going to get hate mail from who lives on the bow. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was never successful for me, and I was never a huge fan. Although I would regularly fish the bow. We lived for a while in a neighborhood called River Bend, which, as you can imagine, was right on a bend in the Bow River. So I could walk from my house to the river in 10 minutes, literally. And a guy that owned a fly shop lived in the neighborhood south of me, and he and I would meet in the middle. We'd walk up river and meet in the middle, and, chat. But he was a big night fisherman, like after dark. He's weird kind of thing. I don't know, spotting rising browns.
Big browns in that river.
Yeah.
Fish mice.
Yeah, fishing with mice, right, at that time?
Yeah.
At night. Even rises, even hatches.
No,
and
just
stuff,
hatches, nighttime hatches.
Yeah. He was into it. But I would prefer, I always sort of prefer, the Crow's Nest or Michelle Creek or some of these other sort of more obscure rivers. And there's a lot of them in Alberta, a ton of them. And because I was in the construction business, I was traveling a lot around, remote places in Alberta, and it was, nothing for me to go up to places like Edson and fish the ram or the Sheep or any of those rivers. Yeah.
What was it about those rivers that attracted you to them over the bow? I know you said it was big water and it just wasn't your cup of tea, but what about those other rivers? Was it
easier to walk and wade? Yeah, easier to walk and wade.
Accessibility point of view.
Yeah, and easier to fish. I mean, you could easily spot the right pool and the place you needed to be. It was easier rivers to read. I've always found the bow a tough river to read, and I think you just got to put a lot of hours in. Yeah. And my very first trip to the Rocky Mountains came about. It's funny. We were living in Halifax. My wife and I were planning on getting married. We were planning on getting married at the time. We were talking about honeymoon, and the honeymoon plan was kind of tentatively sea kayaking on the coast of Maine. A buddy of mine called me up and said, "Hey, you want to go to the west for 2 weeks, road trip, go fishing?" And I had never been, and I said, "Sure, let's do it." And so we flew to Calgary and we drove to Jasper, which is 5-6 hour drive. And there's high alpine mountains and rivers and all this kind of stuff, and we fished everywhere, and he caught the biggest trout I've ever seen in my life. It pulled it right out of a beautiful rip on the bow above Banff National Park. And that I called my wife and I said, "Listen, that sea kayaking thing, what do you think about coming out here instead?" And she was down for it. She was because she likes to ski, and so she said, "Sure, let's do that." So we did a 2-week camping, fishing, all that kind of stuff. And then coincidentally, 2 months later, my boss at the time says, "Hey, we really need somebody to head up things in Calgary. You wouldn't be interested, would you?" And I called her and said, "We're just got transferred to Calgary." Yeah. So it worked out. Yeah. Wow. But so that I'll never forget, that fish that he caught was the biggest trout I ever saw in my life. And it took him forever to land this thing. Yeah. And I said, "Man, this is for me."
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And so that's the defining moment of fishing for me out west. Yeah. Amongst 100 other kind of experiences. Yeah. But yeah, the Livingston, the Crow's Nest, Michelle Creek, which is actually in British Columbia. Those are the places that I always really, really like to fish.
That's rad.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick second here to talk about something really special in downtown Toronto, a slice of heaven, if you will. It's packed full of fly fishing gear, tying materials, clothing, hats, bags, and more. Drift Outfitters Fly Shop at 199 Queen Street East in Toronto, Ontario is our SoFly official fly shop. Rob and the guys down at the shop have you covered for all your fly fishy needs, whether that means taking a trip to Northern Ontario or instead heading on a massive journey to the heart of Africa to fish tigerfish on the Zambezi. Drift Outfitters has got you covered. Stop by the shop at 199 Queen Street East in Toronto or visit them online at driftoutfitters.com to take advantage of their online store and free shipping on Canadian orders over $100. Now you find yourself south of the border and you're in the U.S.?
Yeah, so the guy who caught this fish in Alberta more than 20 years ago now, this story happened. He now lives in New Hampshire. Right. He and I have known each other ever, our whole lives. And he and I started we bought some investment properties together over the years and still own them and stuff. And then he called me one day and said, hey, there's this farmhouse that's literally a mile from another business that I own in the middle of nowhere in northern New Hampshire. Are you interested? And I said, sure, I'll send you a check. And a month later, I looked at the house in person and went, holy shit, what the fuck did we buy?
Yeah.
And
was it all run down, and what was the deal?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird scene. It was a bit this is going to scare Yoma from ever wanting to go there.
Yeah.
It was, it at the time it sort of felt a little, it was not abandoned. There was a fisherman that owned the house, and he had bought it from the original family. And the story that I've pieced together is that it was in the family for about 80 years. There was, somebody died or passed away, old age or whatever, and one of the kids inherited it, and he couldn't keep it or didn't want to keep it or moved away. And so it sort of went derelict, and this guy bought it with a goal of rehabbing the place and bringing it up to some standard. And he was using it on weekends as a fishing place, and this was going to be his guys' getaway. And I think after 5 years of not doing anything on the house, and it was a mess. I mean, it was bad. Mrs. said, that's it, get rid of it. And I still remember him sort of tearing up at the lawyers' meeting when we closed the sale, because he didn't really want to sell, I don't think. Sure. But he approached my business partner and said, hey, I'm thinking, you guys are just up the street, and I'm thinking about selling this. What do you think? And so he jumped on it, and we bought it. And then we spent a lot of time and money, and we completely gutted it. And and I didn't love it. I didn't love it when we bought it. I wasn't keen on it. But the idea was, I mean, it's right on the snowmobile trails, which is huge in New Hampshire. That's a big thing. And it's right on the river, and it's just up the road from a rafting company that my buddy owns. And the rapid goes right by the house. I mean, it's literally, it's perfect. It's a tiny town. There's a liquor store, a gas station, and an outdoor store, and a barbecue joint, and that's it. Yeah. And it's perfectly situated for the stuff that I like to do. So anyway, fast forward, we completely renovated the place, right back to the studs, all new everything. It's a fantastic place now, and we get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So,
and then what? What are you gonna say?
Will the SoFly crew be invited?
Already been invited.
I know.
We have?
Yeah. Yes.
Here we go. We didn't know about that.
Oh well,
they knew.
You'll have to talk to.
I don't know.
You'll have to talk to your attorney. I don't. Your representative.
Yeah, Yelma doesn't tell us anything.
Yeah, he doesn't tell us anything at all.
No, it's not.
He does cool things and then never tells us.
Yeah, he's like, oh, my friend. He's got a house on that river, and we're like, what?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, or months ago, he told us that he has a friend in Zambia that owns like a fishing lodge in the Zambezi River.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like, he wants to have us down to go fish tiger fish. We're like, what?
Yeah, he wants to barter. He wants to barter, just like how we do. Like he wants the whole enchilada. Yeah.
Kind of a cool detail that.
What does that mean? He wants the whole enchilada.
Well, I mean, he'll bring us down, right? And then
he wants the whole enchilada.
So the Zambezi, I would be nervous as hell that a crocodile would come racing out of the water and make me lunch.
Or a hippo.
Wait.
Hippo. Hippos are the most dangerous animal in Africa.
Yeah, he said.
There's also sharks there too.
In the river?
In the river?
Yeah, that come halfway up.
Yeah, they come.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Some sharks have adapted to live in brackish water, so they can come up the river.
So there's hippos, sharks, and
everything.
And tigerfish, elephants,
crocks,
viruses in the water.
Yep.
Scaries.
Yep.
Yelma in a bathing suit.
Watch out.
Scariest thing.
No, I mean, okay. Quickly, I'll just touch on it so that we don't touch on it again. Okay. His father owns a lodge.
Okay.
A beautiful lodge right on the river. There's elephants and zebras and giraffes running around.
Just describing Africa?
No, but he does. This is the thing. This is the lodge that brings people over to. Like, this is his market.
Cheetahs.
And it's hot there. It's really hot.
It is. Actually, Zambia is the hottest.
Leopards and
okay, so who's talking right now?
What else is there?
These guys.
We're definitely coming.
I would like to go.
Yeah, we should all go.
Well, Dan, you and I can come. We'll leave these farts here. Okay?
All right, okay. I'm down. I was in Kenya, I think, or Tanzania. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I had a guy drive me out to this balloon station where they do these morning balloon rides. Mm-hmm. And we were staying about a mile away. And so I had to photograph this sunrise balloon taking off thing. Yeah. Okay. And so we went out, talked to these guys. They said, yeah, sure. Come back tomorrow at 4:30 in the morning or whatever. Great. So we're driving back to where we're staying. And I said to the guy, I said, listen, you don't need to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to drive me here. I'll just get up and grab my camera bag and I'll walk over.
Yeah.
And he laughed. And I'm like, what? He said, you're not going anywhere without me. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what? It's only a mile. I don't mind walking. I thought he was sort of just kind of being helpful. Mm-hmm. He said, no, you're not getting it. You will not survive that 1 mile walk. And I said, oh, really? Because this is on the Serengeti, like in the,
right.
You know. Yeah. And I said, really? What's like lions are going to get? He said, no, hyenas.
Oh, geez.
He said the hyenas will smell you and hunt you down, and they will tear you apart long before you get to the balloon station.
Jeez.
Whoa, I thought hyenas were scavengers.
Apparently not.
That's crazy.
Yeah, apparently not.
Can you
he said they will hunt you down and kill you. Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe they hunt people who have no defenses. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, this is what he told me. Well, I was surprised too.
Well, they they're not going to go for a kill that they feel like will expel a lot of energy. They're looking for the weak kill, right?
Right. So, yeah.
Nice.
There's no fly fishing in this conversation anymore.
Yeah, I know.
David Attenborough over here.
Well, this is exactly where I learned it from.
Sorry, I that's my fault.
Cool. Anyway, I would still have loved to go to the Zambezi because that would be such a wild.
Yeah, for sure.
It really would be truly wild.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a weird feeling like you're part of the food chain.
Well, if you can't get all the way to the Zambezi, you're certainly welcome to come to the Androscoggin River in New Hampshire.
Androscoggin. I've never been in New Hampshire. I've been to a lot of states.
Oh, so it's
never New Hampshire.
From my apartment on the west side to my front door in Errol, New Hampshire, is exactly 7 hours if you leave at 6 a.m. So that. Stuck on the DVP for an hour.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, no, I'm there by 1 o'clock. If I leave at 6, I'm there at 1 o'clock in the house.
Wow, that's not bad at all.
It's great, and it's like I said, it's literally out the back door and you're on the river, or you can drive 20 minutes to the Connecticut, which is just fantastic fishing, really great fishing. Yeah,
for trout.
Yeah, trout. And there is salmon as well, and I have caught. I don't know what they're called. I'm not a big. Technical, I can't sort of nerd out on all of the different species exactly, but would they be farm raised and released salmon?
They could be.
Is that possible? Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've caught them, and I know how to tell the difference between natural born ones and raised ones.
Right.
You can actually almost tell the minute you hook it whether it's wild or a farm raised. Mm-hmm. But they release them into the river as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
For sport.
Yeah. For sport and consumption.
Yeah.
Small amount of consumption. I saw something in the news the other day. There was some guys that were arrested and charged with harvesting hundreds of them.
Jeez.
And stashing them in the bushes. And so
kind of sounds like what's happening here.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't get it, man. You can buy an awful lot of fish at Costco for $20.
That's what Mitch always says.
I've never kept a fish in my life. Is that a lie? I don't think it's a lie. I've never kept a fish in my life.
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily need to, right?
No, if I want fish, I'll go to Costco and buy it.
Yeah, not where we live anyway.
I mean, but there's also like difference between like keeping a fish and like
keeping 100 and stashed in the woods.
It's like, what are you, a squirrel or something? Like. You're preparing for the winter. Like,
no, but that's what they do.
Yeah, these are people who have nothing else to do, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
So salmon, rainbows.
Brookies?
Sorry, brookies?
Brookies and rainbows.
Oh, nice.
I want to say there's some browns too. I think I might have texted you a picture of a brown.
Yeah, I just hooked. 3 rainbows and a brown.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, which species is it that can't really live with the other one?
Well, browns tend to eat everything.
Yeah. Browns tend to eat everything.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of browns in this river.
And brookies are probably the most sensitive temperature-wise.
Okay. Yeah. And so this is what makes this, and I don't want to give away any secrets because there's already enough people on this river, but I guess it's probably not a secret thanks to Google. So this stretch of the Connecticut River that I like to fish, and by the way, guys, there's a really cool cabin house for sale on that river right now. Literally, it's on the river, and you get a covered bridge in your backyard as part of the equation for, I think, the price of $136,000.
What?
And it's a great place. Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I've been. Yeah.
So that's rainbow. And we've got a brookie.
We're looking at pictures of some of the fish caught down here.
Yeah, those
that's a nice little brookie.
Yeah, nice fish.
Yeah, there's some great fish in there.
That's awesome.
130,000. My God.
Yeah, and it's killer. When you see the pictures, you'll be like,
Mitch?
wait, what?
Covered bridge?
That's
I'll live in the
crazy.
bridge. You live in the house.
You can't buy a parking spot here for that.
No, you can't. It's crazy, man. It's so true.
Unless you bought it in,
Yeah.
I don't know, Brampton?
Yeah, Brampton. No,
Not even
in Brampton, no.
Not even in Brampton. Not anymore.
Maybe Brantford.
That's the slogan, man. Not even in Brampton.
Brampton.
It's the GTA.
Too late.
Too expensive.
You missed it.
Beautiful, man.
500,000 only, or more. So what I was saying is that river is dammed. So First Connecticut Lake is dammed, or is the lake that was created when they dammed the river. And they feed that river from the bottom of the dam. So the coldest water feeds that river all summer long.
Right.
And so the temperature remains pretty constant no matter what happens, when it gets up into the 80s or whatever it is, 90s in the summer. The river stays pretty cool. Yeah. And you can feel it actually. It's really interesting. You can feel it. You park and you got to walk sort of the place that I like to go, you got to walk sort of half a mile downhill, pretty steep downhill to get into the river. And you can feel that temperature drop as you walk, even when it's 80 degrees outside or 25 degrees outside. As you walk down to the river,
it just gets colder.
It gets cooler. You can feel that cold air coming up off the river.
It's beautiful.
It's really cool. It's really interesting.
Refreshing.
Nice healthy river.
Yeah. And then you get there and there's a guy in that pool. And so you walk through the woods to the next pool, and there's two people standing there waiting for the guy in the pool to get out, and then you walk another quarter of a mile down the river and there's two people in that pool, and ad nauseum until you finally get to a pool that somebody leaves, or you stare down the person who's in the pool you want to fish in the most.
That's my pool.
Not always that way. That's why I'm going next week, because October everybody's back to school and tourists and
quiets down.
And if I'm there for a week I can go fishing on Tuesday, and most people can't.
Yeah.
And so I get the river to myself. Yeah,
it's nice being able to go to the river midweek.
It really is. Yeah. And then we've got some work to do in the cabin in Maine, so I'll get at least a day on the Kennebec, I hope.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how's the Kennebec?
It's great. Again, it's a little bit like the Bow. It's a big river, and I'm still figuring it out. I actually had a fishing guide send me an email. He found me, I forget how, sent me an email when we bought the place and said, hey, welcome to the neighborhood. And, I'm bartend at XYZ Hotel, and I'm a fly fishing guide. So if you ever want a beer, drop by the hotel and, we'll go fishing or something.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. So
that sounds rad.
Yeah. It's northern Maine, right? There's 9 people. So,
yeah.
You got to be friends with everybody.
Yeah. Sounds good.
It really is. Yeah. We bought that place. It's primarily an Airbnb, kind of investment for us. There's a couple of cabins there, and we're adding some property to it and stuff. So, but it's kind of a nice perk that we use it ourselves.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
That's sweet. Yeah. And then you mentioned you go down south. Well-traveled angler Dan.
Yeah.
Is that the premise of this podcast here? Well-traveled.
Well-traveled. Well, I fished a lot of places just by virtue of, just kind of being, I don't know. It's funny. My wife and I just booked a vacation to Jamaica. Which, I started by sort of thinking maybe we'll go to the Bahamas. And, that way I could shoehorn in some bone fishing. And then that big hurricane hit the Abacos. Abacos? I don't know how to pronounce it. And that wiped out some pretty amazing bone fishing anyway, somehow Jamaica ended up being the destination, and there's no bone fishing in Jamaica as far as I know.
No, but there is some pretty awesome snapper fishing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I kind of feel like that's a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. That's less about fly fishing and more about bobbing around in the water with a beer in your hand and jigging for.
I don't know,
Is
man.
that right?
I brought my 8-weight down there. It was slamming snapper on the reef. It was super fun.
How were you fishing them? From shore?
No, a guy took me out on a boat. I just paid him.
Okay.
And he had beer. but we were not. But we were not jigging. It was super fun.
Because
I
I
took
remember
my dad. My dad just got wasted, and I fly fished. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Because I've done that a
Yeah.
bunch of times on the East Coast. You know, you go cod fishing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever experienced that, and it's literally just a big treble hook.
Yeah.
Right.
And you just literally pull it up and down in the water
jigging
until you're
away.
bored to death,
Right.
and or seasick from bobbing around, or sunstroked from drinking too many beers and in a bathtub in the ocean.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's not enjoyable at all to me,
Yeah.
personally. That's
No,
not
we
my
took.
cup of tea.
We just. It wasn't even. I don't even think it was a fishing guide. He just was like it was a boat guy that you could like rent to take you on little like snorkeling tours.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, just take me to the reef, and I'm see what happens.
So you fished on shore, like from the other side of the reef.
No, I fished like.
Like I meant, you cast it towards shore.
Yeah,
from the outer side of the
exactly
reef.
from
okay.
and then just whatever happened. And what happened was a lot of 3-4 pound snapper, and they were fun.
Well, that sounds good. But
Yeah.
is it center pinning?
No, it was fly fishing.
Fly fishing.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So
no,
got
I
it
don't
all
do
right.
anything but fly fishing.
Okay, well, I wasn't judging. You know.
We only fly fish here, Dad.
Okay. Well, and that's kind of I don't.
That's why we don't catch anything.
I don't own any. I've never been into center pinning.
Yeah.
Yeah, not my.
Wait. Get back to this bonefish about
Sure.
in Jamaica. Are you absolutely sure? I feel like there's a chance.
Well, let's consult the internet.
Yeah, if only there
Because-
was a website you could go and
Right?
search for
Yeah.
that sort of information. I don't know.
I think it rhymes with oogle. no, but seriously.
Wow, you're on today.
It's not.
He's on today.
He's
usually
on
on.
today.
He's not usually like this.
No, this is the most I've seen him talk in a
It's
year.
filled with zazz.
Well, I mean, my best buddies here.
There you go.
that's so nice.
Or it could have your best buddy being 40 Creek.
40
Oh yeah,
Copper pot,
Yelma, what are
Canadian
you
whiskey.
drinking today?
Copper pot.
I love this copper pot 40 Creek. I love 40 Creek. I don't know why this needs to be.
This is really good. I'm up.
Yeah, we love it.
But let's talk about bonefish. So I didn't think there was bonefish in Tobago, and I went to Tobago for Christmas.
And you're
right?
from there.
And I'm from there. And yes, Tobago is not on the same latitude. And, it's farther from Jamaica. It's closer to Venezuela.
Excuse me, sir.
But there's these flats around Tobago where it carries a lot of bones. And I feel like, in
Well,
parts.
flats are what you need, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I feel like Jamaica will have a couple of flats where they have like little pools out there just beyond the reef that I'm sure there's some bonefish. I just have a feeling, or at least permit.
Maybe.
Or some snook, right?
Yeah, a snook. Okay. Yeah. Permit.
I don't know about the permit.
No, eh?
And again, permit, I think you have to fish from a boat. Am I right or wrong?
I don't know. There was permit in Tobago.
You're more stealthy from a boat, and they're very spooky.
Okay.
So it's not that you can't catch them while walking and waiting, but your odds are increased the more stealthy you can be.
Okay.
That
all
being
right.
said, there's a really good. I worked at Drift for a little while. There's a guy who really dialed in permit fishing, and he was very successful walking and waiting, and also from boats. He wouldn't wear pants. He would wear leggings,
Sky-colored shirt.
but actually, and he would wear sky-colored like runner's tights, because he thought that like any kind of extra movement, like a pant weight
Right.
leg. But I mean, the guy hooked and landed like 12 permit on one trip, so I'm
Whoa.
not gonna.
He's
You can
doing
call him
something.
you can call him crazy, but it works.
Yeah.
He put in his 10,000 hours.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's lucky enough to get down there. So according to this blog, theflyfishingforum.com, not very.
What are they about?
I don't know. I don't know anything about this blog, and this guy posted in January 2012 from Pennsylvania. There's a huge flat off Montego Bay, small bonefish, look downs. Look down is a fish
Yeah.
that's in the permit family. Actually caught one in Florida.
Oh, no way.
African pompano and tons of barracuda. Barracuda is super fun on the fly.
Interesting.
I'll put
I've
that out
heard of that. I've heard that. I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, you can I've caught a good amount of barracuda in Florida. Oh man, they're fun on the fly. They're so strong.
Yeah, I bet.
They're so strong
And vicious, man.
Vicious.
Their teeth
So-
are like.
So you wouldn't be, placing like a perfectly landed shrimp pattern in front of a bonefish, but you would be like ripping clouser
Right.
minnows for
Yeah.
monsters.
monster barracuda.
And Jack as well.
Sounds pretty cool.
According to
It does.
the Boz, B-O-Z, you can find barracuda in Pennsylvania. If you want to listen to this forum that I randomly found on Google.
So
Yeah.
the upshot is there are
Fish in the
some
ocean, and you can
opportunities.
definitely. I've caught snapper there, and if there's barracuda are super fun on the fly.
You sure you don't need your 9 weight?
It's not till March. You're
Oh,
good.
you're good.
You're good. I'm not going anywhere till March, other than New Hampshire. So yeah.
Cool to try, yeah. The salt is just a whole other world.
Have you fished for bones before?
I've never fished the salt at all.
At all?
I know
Okay.
we're trying to get Mitchie down.
Dyed
this
in
year.
the wool, Ontario, landlocked.
I am very much
Okay.
a landlocked
All right. Got a passport?
angler. Yeah, I do have a
Barely.
passport. Barely.
Okay. Gotcha.
They'll let me in.
So would you say that? So for bonefish, you've primarily been to the Bahamas then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's killer. It's a lot of fun. I know you're looking forward to going to Mexico to do this, and you've obviously experienced it a few times.
Yeah, mainly I did once in Mexico and a couple times in Florida. Predominantly Florida is the bulk of my saltwater experience.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I fished off Tulum as well. I've Ascension Bay. Do I have that right? I think it's Ascension Bay. Yeah, I fished there too.
Yeah.
Okay.
South of Tulum. Yeah.
Yeah. So I shot the Rough Guide or the Lonely Planet Guide to the Yucatan Peninsula.
Whoa.
Which is a huge part of it's a huge piece of Mexico. Yeah. And I spent a month. I spent a month driving all over the Yucatan Peninsula.
I would love to do that. I love Mexico.
And I drove. I drove from Cancun to I think it's Chetumal, which is that city on the border of Belize or Guatemala and Belize, that little corner.
Yep. Yeah.
So I spent a whole bunch of time.
Wow, that's pretty south down the peninsula there.
It really is. I spent a whole bunch of time covering that entire part of the country and in between fishing.
Because you'd be south of Punta Allen, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Punta Allen's kind of like, you could say the fly fishing kind of.
Yeah. So I went scuba diving or snorkeling in Cozumel, which is the island. And interestingly enough, I'm driving down the highway and, it's jungle on both sides of the road. And then all of a sudden, what I assume was maybe a power line getting put in or something. It's just for about a mile, the jungle is just perfectly cleared, flat as a pancake. And then somebody told me, no, that was Hurricane such and such that that destroyed the reef in Cozumel and went right inland and tore everything up for miles and miles and miles. Yeah, it was pretty stunning. But apparently it didn't affect the next season. Bones were back because the sand just came in and it was still flats and it was preserved. So
that's good. Jeez.
Yeah.
Serious destruction.
Mm-hmm.
There, right?
Yes, that's exactly where it is. Yeah.
Cool.
So that's a huge, you look in the map from Campeche to Chetumal and all the way around to Cancun.
It's a lot of land to cover. That must have been an amazing month.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty great. Yeah, it was pretty great. It was kind of grueling, but it was good.
Where are we? Oh, yeah, we're just up north of that, eh?
Yeah, we're going to be like, so for everyone who doesn't know, we're going to Tulum in a week. 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
I guess at the time this comes out, we'll be leaving in 2 days.
2 days, yeah.
Yeah. We're leaving on the 4th, October 4th, and this comes out October 1st.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
I'm jealous of myself going. That's how excited I am.
I'm jealous. I'm not going.
You can come. You were invited.
Yeah, this could have been your first stamp.
The first salt trip.
With the amount of work that we put in here.
I can't go.
Why don't you dip?
Me and Neil are partners.
That's what I'm saying. Why don't you? He's not going to be here, so you may as well go too.
I should have gone.
Dan, I love this thinking.
Him.
Yeah, I mean, just dip.
Yeah, I mean,
you probably spend less money on your airfare now because you're booking at the last minute than these guys spent.
Yeah, maybe.
I will tell you though, it was $400 return.
On what airline?
On Air Canada.
Oh,
yeah,
that's amazing.
It was
not
great.
bad at all.
That's really good.
I put in the sale alerts. I got an alert for a sale, and I was like, buying them now.
Love a good sale alert.
Oh, I should do that.
Yeah.
I tried to buy a ticket to Bangor, Maine the other day, $1,000.
What?
I said,
That's not
fuck it, I'm driving.
Yeah.
For sure.
$1,000.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Jeez.
So, Bahamas, bonefish, anywhere else you like going down south? Or?
No. No. If I was going to do another fly fishing trip, and I think I talked to you about this. I've been looking at Mongolia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I've been to that part of the world. I've not been to Mongolia, but I've been to Bhutan, which is in the Himalayas, and it's very similar, predominantly Buddhist country, mountain kind of oriented. Mongolia is maybe a little less developed than Bhutan, but I've been over a ton of that part of the world. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Mongolia is kind of the last great fly fishing destination. I don't know what the river's called, but there's a river there that they fly you upriver, know, and it takes 7 or 8 days to float out. And they have little yurts or whatever on the side of the river. Every 6 hours or so, there's a yurt, and you pull out, and somebody cooks dinner and milks a yak and makes you tea and
sounds awesome.
That does
sound pretty cool.
I mean, that's a pretty epic adventure.
And this would be for Timon, yeah.
It's trout.
It's big brown.
And
Because I thought it was
Taimen as well.
Yeah,
Trout.
That's
and,
what you said last time. Right?
Yeah, so Taimen is kind of a trout, right?
It's
Do I have
in
that right?
the.
I think it's
I'm
in
pretty sure
the
the salmon family, but
salmon
let's
family.
double check that.
Taimen are crazy. I've always wanted to catch one of those things.
Yeah, so
Huge.
there's trout. I think browns,
Yeah, I think I've heard browns too.
but big.
All
Like,
those on the Google duty right now. So good.
but big. Like
Yeah.
20,
Fact check.
20 inches is small.
Yeah, yeah.
So but I don't. I mean, it's. I don't know if I'm gonna do that yet. It's early days.
Well, I'll come with you.
You haven't seen the price yet.
I'll come with you anyway.
Okay,
I'll just sell my
I'll
bar.
count you in. I'll just sell
my bar.
Sell something.
Wait. We
Got a
talked
car
about it. I thought
for
you
sale.
said you're paying for all of us to come with you.
I
Damn.
how much of that 40 Creek did we have that time?
The whole enchilada.
So yeah, I don't know, and I'd still like to do another. I'd still like to go out west.
Also,
Yeah,
he's never been.
We should take-
Neither of them been fishing out
Well,
west.
and I
Yeah.
bugged you a bunch of times about this. I've said, let's do, because you just fly to Calgary. You literally just rent a car and drive. You
Yeah.
don't need hotel reservations. You don't need anything. You could drive to Montana, and or you could.
And
drive,
we have friends in Montana.
Yeah, you could drive to Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Chloe.
Or you could literally go down to the Crow's Nest Pass, fish the Crow's Nest in Livingston for a day, drive over to Fernie, stay in Fernie for a night, fish, down through there, the wigwam and the elk, which is incredible, and then boom, cross over into Montana, and I mean the world is your oyster. It's amazing.
I think a great thing.
That's a great road trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think the great thing that you just touched on, and I think a lot of people think there's a big barrier to entry to go to these places. I mean, there is in the sense that you have to fly there for us. But once you're there, you can DIY really easily.
Yeah, I mean it's not like you're traveling to Mongolia or Zambezi. Zambezi.
Yeah,
Well,
we're going to
if you
get
go to
eaten by hyenas.
We'll have a lodge close by.
It's not the same kind of
But you
thing.
don't have to have this lodge experience like this.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Best Western motels every
Everywhere.
2 miles. I mean, Subway sandwiches on your way to the river in the morning or
perfect.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you're out of your, completely out of your comfort zone. I mean,
Yeah.
the most foreign experience you have is driving across the border into the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
Taimen are a salmonid.
So they are part of the salmon.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they're part of the salmon family.
Yeah. They are.
So there you go.
What about Mongolia and the trout? Is it browns?
What river?
Unpronounceable. I have no idea what it's called. It's a series of symbols.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, not my
A
language.
Taimen would be wild. They're huge.
Yeah. So that's a place. Russia. I know Russia's a lot of uncharted fishing territory. I've heard stories about fishing in Russia, but to me, Mongolia would be kind of cool. I'd go to Mongolia before, although I don't know, Patagonia, Chile. That's come up a few times with somebody else that I fish with a little bit.
Always wanted to do Tierra del Fuego.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Sea Run Browns.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I just looked up the Mongolian, like what kind of trout it is, and it's a Siberian trout, and it's a type of trout I've never seen before. Look at a picture of this thing. Look at the head on this thing. It's crazy looking.
Yeah, if you put a rubber boot on the end of a fly line, they'll take it.
Yeah, they're just super wild. They just like want
That's
to eat.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
Look at
super
that.
cool.
That's
Siberian trout.
What do you figure that is? 30 inches?
That's a big fish, man. Fishing for those in Taimen, that'd be one hell of a trip.
Wouldn't it? And it's apparently it's if you're into keeping count, apparently it's one after the other. I mean, if you don't have a 25 fish day, you've had a terrible day.
Yeah. Jeez.
You get bored, which, I don't know if you've ever experienced getting bored fishing, but I have. And it's a weird experience. Like cutthroat trout on Michelle Creek during an olive hatch, is you literally just get bored after a while. It's like, that I can tell it's only a 20 incher. I'm trying to pull the fly away before it actually gets it, because you can see it
only
coming,
a 20
right?
incher.
Yeah.
So that's kind of those are the things that I do, man, not to sort of brag about the West being better than Ontario, but I mean, those are the kinds of things that I've yet to sort of experience here.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. The fish population is just higher.
Yeah.
It's much higher.
Yeah.
Their rivers sustain and can't sustain much higher populations.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a classic trout fishing and fly fishing place out west, you know?
It's cold water all summer.
Yeah.
You know, it almost doesn't matter how hot it gets. The water is always going to be cold because it's coming from some glacier. Yeah. So that's the difference, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it just goes to say, like, I spent a lot of time fly fishing, and a lot of new places I haven't gone before, you know, around Ontario and in kind of like upstate New York, and I've just had so much fishing to do here. I still haven't made it out west, but it's definitely like on the upcoming list, you know.
Well, we're trying in 2020 to get Mitch out
Well,
west.
let's do it. I mean, that's like Aldo was saying. I mean, it's so accessible. I mean, you literally just go to the thrifty counter at the Calgary airport, get your car or whatever it is, and go.
Roll.
Yeah, I mean, there's
the licenses aren't crazy either.
No, BC has changed a little bit since they changed while I lived there, interestingly enough. So there's a place called Michelle Creek, which is just over the border on your way to Fernie.
Yeah.
It's just over the border. And it used to be that, you know, you could go down for a day, it's a 2.5 hour drive from Calgary, and you fish the Crow's Nest in the morning, go into town, get a sandwich for lunch, and go to the fly shop and buy a 1-day permit to fish in British Columbia. And then 20-minute drive later, you're on Michelle Creek in BC. And they changed it. There's like these inland waterways rules now where you have to buy, it's basically cash grab, more money. So I think it costs, if you only want to fish for 1 day in BC, it's like $50 or something. It's a little bit steep. But if you're on a road trip and you're going to hit 3 or 4 rivers, the Elk and the Wigwam and all that before you cross over into the U.S., or you could just beeline it right for Last Chance, Idaho, and, you know, fish all those great rivers down there, you know, the Henrys.
Yeah, I
South Fork of the Henrys.
I have not done that, but I would love to.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's when I fished it, it was like 12 inches of water or 18 inches of water, and it was surrounded by basically a grasshopper factory on both sides of the river for miles and miles and miles, and it was 18 degrees, and it was the middle of July, and it was just literally foam hopper patterns for 23, 24 inch fish all afternoon. I floated against what I was saying earlier. I floated the Green River in Wyoming with a guy who was really interesting because he's the guy that Dick Cheney calls whenever he wants to go fishing. And so he had some interesting stories about that. I got in the boat with him with my 3-weight that my wife bought me years and years and years ago. And it's my favorite rod. And I got into the boat with him, and he said, "No, dude."
Is it a Sage by any chance?
No, it's a Loomis. It's a G Loomis.
Our last guest, his favorite rod, his wife bought him.
Oh, interesting.
And it was a Sage. And I was like, oh, that would be a...
Yeah, my wife went to a fly shop and asked, I think she must have said, you know, if your wife bought you a rod, what would you want her to buy you? And so the guy at the fly shop said this. and it was the perfect call because it's my favorite rod. You used it on, I think you played with it for an hour or something one day. So I jumped in this boat on the Green River with this guide, and he said, "What's that?" And I said, "It's a 3-weight." And he said, "No, dude, you need to put that back in the truck and get something else."
Yeah.
And I said, "Trust me, I got this." And so fast forward maybe an hour, and we're nymphing as we float along, and bang, I don't know how big it was. I've still got a picture of it somewhere. It was 24 or 25 inches of really, really angry rainbow trout. Wow. And it took probably 30 minutes of very gentle play before I got him tired out enough that we could get him into a net. But we landed it. He said, "He's going to break you off. You're going to lose that fish. There's no way. He's either going to break your rod or break you off." And I don't know what I had, like 6X, 7X tip it. It was outrageous.
Yeah, you never know. You never know what's going to hit.
Yeah. And so I don't know how we got on the Green River, but that part of the world to me is pretty magical. That's why that's why Brad Pitt
make
makes
movies about it.
Yeah. Definitely a place worth checking out.
Yeah, you should. I mean,
I predict lots of trips out there. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah,
There's so many friggin' places.
This year,
to
I'm
go
telling
to.
you, Mitchie. This year, Mitchie goes west.
Yeah, we can go this year for sure.
Five goes west.
We were gonna probably do the trip to Calgary and then down to Montana this year. We were thinking do July 1st Canada Day here, and then go down to Montana for July 4th.
Yeah. Can I give you some advice? Don't go in July.
Because of the crowds?
Yeah, so if you're staying in Canada, Southern Alberta, you're going to want to be like Kananaskis country, Banff, Fernie, that's kind of where you're going to stick to, and that's crowded with tourists. It's not the best fishing. It's not the best, it's great weather, but it's not great fishing weather. Strongly suggest September. Fish know winter's coming, and they get hungry. The rivers are a lot less crowded. They're not crowded by any stretch of the imagination anyway, anywhere near close to what you're used to here.
Yeah.
But, the weather's nicer. I don't know about you, but I'd rather wear a light sweater fishing than a T-shirt and be baking in the sun. Personally, that's my thing. So September, I would strongly, the fish are hungrier. They know
right
winter's
now.
coming. Yeah.
Mid-September.
Now's the time. Yeah.
You want to leave right now?
It is Thursday.
Apparently, you can find deals on short notice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We don't have any more
baby.
presentations, so
Yeah.
let's just go.
But that's what I would do. That would be my advice. If you're going to do it. Take a week.
Yeah.
Fly into Calgary, rent a car. I wouldn't even bother making hotel reservations anywhere because that time of year you don't need to. All the tourists have gone home for the summer. And, I don't know, drive all the way to Idaho and back.
Yeah.
Pick the rivers you want to fish and
Or just drive to Idaho and
or
not
just
come back.
drive and not come back.
Yeah.
I would
Drive
float,
the car into the Henry's Fork.
and I would float one of those big classic Montana rivers, the Gallatin or something like that. I
Madison,
would
I loved the
the
Madison.
Ennis.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Madison. Oh God, it's amazing when you drive down there. It's like this beautiful grasslands, but it's hilly because you're on the foothills of the Rockies.
Yeah.
And to me, it's the most gorgeous thing to be driving down the highway and over on the side of the road in the distance is like this beautiful grassland and the Madison River and 10 drift boats just lazily drifting down the river.
Oh, man.
And there's room for 10 drift boats. Like there's lots of room and everybody's fishing.
I've heard it.
It's gorgeous. And every motel you drive by, there's 10 trailers with drift boats on them in the parking lot. It's, everybody's at it hard.
You hit the nail on the head. I remember I drove west to east in Montana. And it wasn't until I got to the Ennis and the Madison River Valley that I was like, oh, I'm in Montana,
Right. Because
I fished Rock Creek first and it looked like here.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's just pine trees. And there's lots of trout and it's great. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But when I got to the Madison, it was that. It opens
Everything
up.
changes.
The mountains, it's just, there's no more trees. It's all grassland.
Yeah.
And there's just this beautiful river with people just fly fishing.
And buffalo in the field, wild buffalo in the field. It's pretty stunning. It's amazing. It's the Wild West.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's rad. Mitchie's Fishies 5. We have 5 questions we ask every guest.
Okay.
Every show.
I've heard this.
Yeah, same 5 questions. So you've heard this. So do you have your answers pre-prepared?
No, I don't actually because I forget the questions.
Okay, man.
And actually, I remember when I listened to the first podcast when you first said, "Hey, come on this thing," I listened to it and I'm like, "Oh, okay, I got to come up with some really clever answers to these questions, obviously." And I never did. I forgot the questions.
5 questions. Yeah, take your time answering them. It's not like a buzzer beater thing. It's just 5 more questions that we ask everybody.
All right.
So the first one is, what is your favorite fish and why?
Okay. Did I just take the last of the?
No, that's fine. I just for a second I thought there wasn't in the bottle, and he was just going to be like
pouring out. You'll just pouring out 40 Creek.
Suspense was killing everyone.
Yeah,
I should drink water anyways.
The slowest pour of all time.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Mm-hmm.
That's an easy one. My favorite fish would be a cutthroat trout on Michelle Creek in the fall, deep fall. Need a toque. Need a light down jacket.
Yeah.
down jacket fall.
But the sun is warming up the river and green drakes are exploding everywhere.
Yeah.
And I've got a number 14 green drake on and cutthroat trouts, 23 inches. Bang, bang, bang.
Some nice fish.
That's my favorite fish.
Yeah.
Is that too specific?
No.
Nope.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
It's a nice scene, actually.
Yeah.
It's. I think it might have actually been stolen from a river runs through it.
No, it's a great answer. I love that answer. It's great. Number 2 is, if you could fish anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why?
Provided it's like the best time to do it in.
Mm-hmm. Peak times.
So not Calgary in July.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a good question. It's a hard one to answer. I guess I have to draw on a place that I've already been, because right, that makes sense. Yeah.
Well,
so
it doesn't have to be. It could be.
Could be a fantasy.
A place,
fantasy. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I know enough about Mongolia yet to say that that's going to be on my list. I would probably go back to the Madison, that we just talked about. I would say that if I could do anything right now, I would sort of do a walk and wade along the Madison again in the fall.
Yeah.
My favorite time to do it.
Yeah. Oh man, it must be a really nice place.
Or the Fire Hole. You guys ever heard of the Fire Hole?
In the
Yellowstone Park?
Yeah.
I caught the biggest brown trout I've ever caught in my life in that park.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. I don't know. I forget how big it was. It was enormous. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Both.
And I don't gauge success that way, but anyway.
The fire hole looks crazy because you're just like, it looks like you're on a different planet. There's like steam coming out of the earth.
Yeah. From the fire.
From
what do they call those? Geysers.
The geysers and whatnot.
Yeah.
And there's like pools of sulfuric acid, and you're just there fishing for trout.
It's pretty rad, eh?
It's an amazing
buffalo
place.
walks by.
It's truly Montana. I mean, that's the image of Montana, right? That you have in your head when you think about Montana.
Yeah.
If you've never been, that's what it feels like,
Oh,
Are these good answers so far?
They're great answers.
Great answers.
Okay. Of course.
Good.
Number 3 is, what is your best fishing memory?
Ooh. So, okay. My best fishing memory. I would say I have 2 best fishing memories.
Yeah.
And the first one is my buddy that I talked about earlier on our first trip in the Rocky Mountains. So that place that this fish was caught is called Saskatchewan Crossing. And it's on the Icefields Parkway on the way to Jasper. And you should, after when you get home, Google it and look at the pictures. Stunning place, but it's on the Icefields Parkway. Like, it's in the middle of nowhere, high up in the Rocky Mountains. And it's literally, you pull over on the side of the road and the river goes underneath the highway. And then you just walk downriver, but it's glacier fed. And it's amazing. It's a stunning landscape, and so probably one of my best fishing memories is watching him pull that enormous fish out of that green iridescent water. Mm-hmm. If you've ever seen pictures of those, sort of glacier fed streams, the water is a deep glowing green. So that would be one fishing memory that sticks out, and then the other would be that day on the Henry's Fork, like literally 18 inches of water, pebble, consistent, even. It was almost like a man-made waterway, pebbles, that you could just easily walk on, and you could see the bottom, and you're literally casting, number 22 dry flies to fish that are just breaking the surface 50 yards away. And they're just letting it drift right into their mouth. That would be the other great memory for me.
That sounds like an awesome memory.
Yeah.
Beautiful scene.
I love that. Number 4, a little more existential.
Existential, okay.
Why?
I got to look that word up. Hold on. Who's got the Google?
Ask Yelman, he'll know.
Lost me.
Freaking out already.
Extraterrestrial? Is that what you said?
It is, why do you fly fish? Why fly fish at all?
Oh, God. Why do I fly fish at all? I don't know. Sometimes I wonder. It can be a pain in the ass. I'm kind of a lazy guy, I think. Sometimes I just don't want to get in the car on Saturday morning and drive. It's harder to do here. I don't want to drive an hour and sit on the 427 or even worse, the 401 westbound just to get to a river. But I don't know. I mean, why do you continue to breathe?
Gives you life.
How's that for an existential answer to an existential question?
You just really blew it right open.
It's kind of something I have to do. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because, I leave it. I mean, I've had periods of my life where I have not done it for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. There's been it's like guitar playing. I played guitar when I was a kid forever. I played guitar, and then I stopped for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And then I went crazy and bought like 5 guitars, and I play guitar all the time now at home.
Yeah.
And have been for years again. Why did I stop for 20 years? I have no idea. But yeah, I don't know. It's in the DNA.
Got into hip hop.
We got into hip hop. Yeah. I strike you with strong hip hop.
Yeah.
Deep hip hop. Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
That's hip hop, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Why did I stop playing guitar? I got into hip hop.
Just something you innately enjoy, and it's just you just do it because you feel like you have to.
Yeah, I guess I guess the real answer is I think that I saw a documentary. I heard a documentary. I heard a story the other day about a heroin addict. Actually, so it was David Crosby. I watched the David Crosby documentary on the weekend. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So and he describes the first time he ever took heroin. And what happened afterwards, and he said the first time is magical, and then for the rest of your life, you are always chasing the feeling of the first experience.
Right.
And so, I don't know. For me, I feel like I'm always chasing another moment like that on the Henry's Fork, or that at Saskatchewan Crossing, where it's just kind of a magical day.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have planned it. You couldn't have produced a day like that.
And you never know when it's going to come.
You never know when it's going to come, so you just got to keep going.
Yeah, that's great. I think this makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
Keeps
like
you
that.
going back out.
Yeah.
Number 5, and the last in the Mitchie's Fishies 5.
Mitch's Fishy 5. I
Oh,
like that.
Mitch's Fishies 5, baby.
That's Mitchie.
And these are fishy.
And there's 5 of them.
That's the friggin' catchphrase for it.
I don't know. We're drunk when we made it up, okay? Jesus Christ.
Some copywriter got a hold of this and
Yeah, exactly.
jumbled it all to hell.
Exactly.
He art
Number
directs
5. What fly pattern represents you best and why?
Oh, God.
If you were a fly, what would you be?
If I was a fly, what would I be? God. I have no way to know how to answer that. So for starters, I can't remember the names of any flies.
Cool.
Guys will look in my fly box and go, "Oh, you got a whole bunch of prince nymphs and some muddler minnows," and I'm like, "Sure."
Yeah.
I've never been technical like that. Or not technical, but I've never been super nerdy like that. It's not nerdy, but I've never been into that stuff. And I used to tie flies. I tied flies for years. God, I don't know. Does anybody else have a hard time answering that question? Sure they do.
Yeah, everybody does.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Well, because I think it's like you want to. I mean, what's
Everybody
the
but
fly
Chloe.
that? Yeah, Chloe was pretty quick. Chloe, our friend in Montana, just said the bitch creek. Like, yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good answer.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. What would I be? I know what I would be. A friend of mine had a dog that died. And before it died, I took some hair from the dog with the intent, because it was a husky, and I don't know if you know what huskies are like. They get this big, lot of fur. Lots of fur to spare. And I took some fur with the intention of using it to tie a fly. And the dog passed away. So I tied him a very unique fly using that hair and named the fly the dog's name. And I mounted it and framed it and gave it to him as a gift. And so the fly was called Kyla's Ghost, and that was the name of the dog, Kyla. And
Great name, by the way.
yeah. So it was Kyla's Ghost. And, So the answer would be, I'd like to think this is what I would be. I would be some unique, one-of-a-kind fly that doesn't exist anywhere except in a frame on somebody's mantle.
Yeah, maybe Kyle's ghost. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, something like that.
That's
But
cool.
I don't want to be dead or a ghost.
Yeah.
Dan's Unique Fly.com. Trademarking right now.
.com at Dan's Fly.
I love it. That's cool. Yeah, that's the first time we've ever heard like a custom fly.
Yeah.
But I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's cool.
Or like Kyla's Ghost.
Kyla's ghost. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
I
that
like that.
name.
So
It's
a
an interesting story.
unique one-of-a-kind fly. That's maybe what I hope I am.
Yeah. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Absolutely. No, I mean that's it for Mitch's Fishy 5.
Well, thank you very much. This was really fun.
Yeah, thanks for
super
coming.
fun.
Thanks for
Thanks for
coming.
I hope I'm not like the worst guest you've ever had.
You're a great guest
Most
to have on the show.
boring.
No, I was the worst guest they've ever.
Yeah.
Were you?
Yeah.
And so they just had to hire you.
Yeah.
He's so bad, we need to hire him and
Get
make
this
him a
man
regular.
on the show.
This guy's terrible. He's gonna make us look great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So when are you guys all coming to Errol, New Hampshire?
What are you doing this weekend?
the River House. We call it the River House.
I mean, that'd be
When's the best time
fun.
to come
yeah.
to the River House?
Between now and before the snow flies.
Yeah.
Spring is tough. It's pretty buggy in the spring.
I bet.
Yeah.
And the river can be a little harder to fish because it's high.
Mm-hmm.
But September and October, I think, are pretty special times.
Fucking right. We should try to find the time to come down. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It'd be super fun.
Yeah, you're welcome to.
Wicked, man. That'd be amazing.
I would love to go to New Hampshire. I've never been.
Me
Another
neither.
state off the list.
Yeah.
Hey, and you can literally walk to the liquor store
Perfect.
from the house.
Awesome.
You don't even need to drive. You can literally walk to the liquor store. Go see Bob at the liquor store.
Bob!
I know Bob, first name basis.
Oh, no way, Bob.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people know Bob.
Bob has great steaks.
Yeah?
And so you
What?
walk over to the liquor store and you get a little something and a couple of steaks and walk back home to the farmhouse and throw them on the grill.
That sounds
And
like a pretty good day.
I bought a pellet smoker. You know what a pellet
Oh,
smoker
sick.
is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So good.
Literally put a rack of ribs on that thing,
Yeah.
set it to 200 degrees, drive up to the Connecticut
Yeah.
for 6 hours,
Yeah.
fish, come home, you got
Perfect meat.
falling off the rib, off the bone.
We had that in
It's
Timmins, remember?
Yeah, we did. Super, super
awesome.
cool.
It's great. It was like $400 at Walmart.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It's amazing.
Crazy.
Those things are so cool, and you can
Yeah.
control the heat and everything.
Yeah. Digital.
Yeah.
Dialed in. Yeah. So come visit.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I'd love
We'd
to
come
truck
down.
fishing in New Hampshire.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
It's pretty special.
Yeah. Aldo, where can people find SoFly stuff?
You can find all of our stuff at sofly.ca. That's our photos, our videos, and of course this podcast, as well as all of our other podcasts. On Instagram, we're at the SoFly Crew. And you can reach out to us at the SoFlyCrew@gmail.com with any questions, comments, answers, concerns, questions. Maybe you want to answer the Mitchie's Fishies 5, and maybe we'll read them on the air.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that might be kind of fun.
Could be kind of fun.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for me. Dan, thanks again. It was nice to
Thank you,
reminisce
guys.
about.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was nice to reminisce about my times in Montana and down south. So
Yeah.
I'm
thank
glad
you
we did
for
this.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. That's it for me, Alto. Bye bye.
Yeah, and that's it for me, Mitch. Yelma?
That's it for me. And look out for Factor Fishy on our next podcast.
Yeah, Yelma's bringing his segment back from a couple episodes missed. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for listening, and take care.